Florrie, is that you? I had just stepped inside the front door of Color Me Red, the bookstore I managed. The owner, Professor John Maxwell, bounded down the stairs. During the 4 years I had worked at the store, Professor Maxwell had arrived early to contemplate curious matters of history and missing treasures. Sometimes he slept in his office or arrived in the dead of night to pursue some theory in his vast library of uncommon books. He rubbed his salt and pepper beard with one hand. Along his sideburns, his hair turned snowy white, but black pepper crept back in and nearly took over on the top of his head. I guessed him to be about 65. His bronzed skin was as wrinkled as the old maps he constantly perused. I had tried to sketch his face at home, but he would have to model for me to get those creases exactly right. The skin just under his eyebrows had drooped, covering the outer edges of his upper eyelids. The effect was enchanting. His violet eyes were spirited but kind, as though he had discovered secrets as yet unknown to mankind, like a wizard. I had seen a photo of him as a young man, and there was no doubt that women must have chased him. Even now, he exuded a powerful presence. "Florrie, my little artiste, have you found a place to live yet?" For years, I had rented a tiny apartment in Reston, Virginia, but I longed to live closer to work in the Georgetown neighborhood of Washington, D.C. I had looked around, but rent in the city was high, and I had blown past my roommate years. I looked at every miserable, tiny studio as it came on the market, but the dark, dreary holes in the wall were expensive and far too depressing for me. "No. Do you have a lead?" "How would you like to live in my carriage house? It's an easy walk to work and quite private." I didn't know what to say. That would be great," I stammered, but a cloud of doubt descended on me fast. "How much is the rent?" Georgetown prices were well beyond my means. Professor Maxwell's mouth shifted, and he scratched his head. "My sister is pressing me to let her son live in the carriage house behind our family home. I am very sorry to say that her son is a thoroughly odious young man whom I detest. I won't charge you so much as 1 penny of rent if you'll do me this favor." Sold. Professor Maxwell had taught history for several decades. I assumed he had interacted with enough young men to know whereof he spoke, but I couldn't quite believe my good luck. "Are you sure? It doesn't seem right to freeload." "Nonsense. It would be a personal favor to me, and frankly, it would be better for all of us if you lived closer to the store. Snow days, late events, and such, you know." "I have a cat," I said doubtfully. Peaches was like a baby to me. I wouldn't dream of moving without her. "No problem." "Okay." How could I pass up an offer like that? "Wonderful." He smiled, clearly pleased, and turned to go. He didn't even take one step before he turned back to me and raised his forefinger. "But there is one caveat.